Hey everyone, and welcome back to Moveless History, where we strip away the romanticized notions of the past and dive headfirst into the messy, exhilarating, and often terrifying realities of daily life. Tonight, we're tackling perhaps the most universal yet historically varied human experience: parenting. Forget your organic baby food and your ergonomic strollers. Forget your playdates and your timeouts. We're going back to a time, the Paleolithic era, when raising a child wasn't just a challenge, it was a daily, relentless struggle for sheer survival in a world where everything, absolutely everything, was trying to kill your offspring. We're talking about a time when a baby monitor was just a keen sense of hearing for the rustle of a saber-toothed cat outside the cave. So, before you feel too overwhelmed by your modern parenting woes, take a deep breath, hit that like button, and subscribe to Moveless History if you're ready to truly appreciate how good we've got it. And in the comments below, tell us what modern baby product you absolutely could not live without in the Stone Age. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn off your central heating for a touch of authentic primal chill, and let's enter the ultimate survival game: prehistoric childcare, birth and the immediate aftermath. No manuals, just instincts. The journey of prehistoric parenting began with one of the most dangerous acts imaginable: childbirth itself. Far from sterile hospital rooms, births occurred in the raw, natural world, perhaps in a sheltered part of a cave, under a makeshift lean-to, or even during a pause in migration. It was a communal event, with other women, often elder females, assisting. There were no pain medications, no epidurals, no C-sections for complications. The risks of hemorrhage, infection, and death for both mother and child were incredibly high. If a mother and baby survived, it was a victory. But the immediate perils were far from over. The newborn entered a world utterly indifferent to its fragility. The first, critical challenges were maintaining warmth and ensuring immediate feeding. Without modern clothing or controlled environments, keeping a naked, wet infant warm in often harsh climates was paramount. Animal hides, moss, and dried leaves likely served as rudimentary swaddling. Breastfeeding was not a choice. It was the sole source of nutrition. Babies would be breastfed on demand, frequently, and for years, often up to 3, 4, or even 5 years. There was no formula, no solid food suitable for infants, and no concept of weaning before the child was physically capable of chewing and digesting the coarse diet of the group. This extended breastfeeding provided not only sustenance, but crucial antibodies, acting as the earliest form of immune support in a pathogen-rich environment. And as for diapers, non-existent. Babies were likely kept naked or lightly covered, and messes were simply a part of life, dealt with through immediate cleaning with leaves, grass, or simply accepting the inevitable. Imagine never-ending laundry, but without washing machines, soap, or even much water. The toddler gauntlet. Every day, a high-stakes game. Once a child started crawling and then walking, the game escalated from defense to relentless vigilance. The toddler years in the Paleolithic were less about terrible twos and more about terrifying everythings. The world was a boundless, untamed playground, and every single feature was a potential death trap. Predators. This is the big one. Wolves, bears, big cats, and even large birds of prey saw small, slow-moving humans as easy meals. Children were never, ever left unsupervised. Every adult in the group was, by necessity, a de facto babysitter. A child wandering too far from the safety of the campfire or the group's immediate vicinity could vanish in an instant, leaving behind only desperate grief. Environmental hazards. Cliffs, raging rivers, hidden crevasses, slippery rocks. The natural landscape was littered with opportunities for fatal falls. Lakes and ponds, while vital for water, were also drowning hazards. The very fire that kept the group warm and cooked their food was a constant, captivating, and deadly attraction for curious little hands. Poisonous plants and berries, indistinguishable to an untrained eye from edible ones, presented a silent, insidious threat during foraging excursions. Sharp flint tools, bone needles, and the very weapons essential for survival were always within reach, tempting little fingers. Discipline and learning. In this high-stakes environment, timeouts or gentle coaxing were luxuries. Discipline was immediate, physical, and directly tied to survival. If a child ventured too close to the cliff edge, they weren't told no politely. They were likely snatched back, perhaps with a sharp smack and an urgent guttural warning. Learning was experiential and consequence-driven. Touch the fire once, you learn fire burns. Chase the wolf, you learn wolves bite. Try to eat a strange berry, you learn some berries are poison. Ideally, these lessons were absorbed before catastrophic consequences. Children learn through constant observation and imitation of adults, absorbing survival skills from the moment they could walk. Every activity was a learning opportunity: how to identify edible plants, how to track small animals, how to recognize dangerous sounds. Childhood. Miniature survivalists in training. As children grew older, from toddlers to what we might call pre-teens, their roles shifted from being pure liabilities to nascent contributors. Play, far from being mere recreation, was their primary form of education and skill development. Throwing stones wasn't just a game, it was practice for hunting. Mimicking adults carving wood or scraping hides wasn't just fun, it was early apprenticeship. A child who excelled at climbing might become a skilled scout. One who patiently watched animals might become a great hunter. There was no formal schooling, no rote memorization. Knowledge was passed down orally, through stories, and most importantly, through direct participation. By the age of 5 or 6, children were already being assigned simple, crucial tasks. They might help gather firewood, identifying dry branches, learning which wood burns best. They'd assist in foraging for berries or edible roots, learning the local flora under the watchful eyes of adults, chasing birds away from drying meat, fetching water from safe sources, or minding younger siblings while adults were otherwise occupied were common responsibilities. By the time a child reached 10 or 12, they were considered semi-functional members of the group, still a bit annoying perhaps, but undeniably useful. They were on the cusp of becoming fully capable hunters, gatherers, or toolmakers, ready to contribute directly to the group's survival. Their toys were the elements of nature: sticks, stones, feathers, animal bones, anything that sparked imagination and could be used to mimic adult activities. And nature, famously, didn't come with safety labels. The village raises the child, communal parenting. The phrase, "it takes a village to raise a child," was not a cute saying in the Paleolithic. It was a non-negotiable reality. With constant threats and the demanding nature of daily survival, no single parent, especially a mother, could shoulder the burden of childcare alone. Parenting was a deeply communal effort. Babies were rarely put down. They were carried in slings made of animal hide, on backs, or simply held by an available adult. This constant physical contact not only fostered strong bonds, but also kept the child safe and within sight. When a mother was busy with foraging or preparing food, an older sibling, a grandparent, an aunt, or even another male member of the group would step in to care for the infant. Grandparents, especially, played a crucial role. Their accumulated knowledge of medicinal plants, foraging locations, and survival techniques was invaluable, and their physical limitations often meant they were better suited to childcare within the relative safety of the camp. Privacy, as we understand it, simply didn't exist. Children grew up in small, tight-knit bands of perhaps 20-40 individuals, often extended families. Everyone heard everything, saw everything, and contributed to the raising of every child. This constant oversight provided a robust safety net, but also meant that parenting styles were community-enforced norms rather than individual choices. There was collective responsibility for the well-being and education of the young. This communal model, while demanding, also provided immense support, ensuring that no parent was truly alone in the relentless struggle to keep their offspring alive. Health and the brutal numbers. The high stakes of childhood. Despite the best efforts of communal care, child mortality rates in the Paleolithic were astronomically high. Infancy and early childhood were extremely perilous. Disease, even seemingly minor infections, could be fatal without antibiotics or modern medicine. A simple cut could lead to a deadly infection. Diarrhea, malnutrition, exposure to the elements, and accidents claimed countless young lives. Archaeological evidence from prehistoric burial sites often reveals a disproportionate number of child skeletons, a stark reminder of the brutal realities. Medical care for children was rudimentary at best. Some knowledge of medicinal plants, passed down through generations, might be used to alleviate pain or fever. Basic first aid for cuts or minor injuries might involve cleaning with water or applying natural poultices of moss or chewed herbs. But for serious illnesses or broken bones, there was little to do but provide comfort and hope for the body's natural healing processes. Survival was largely a matter of robust immune systems, constant vigilance, and sheer luck. Even dental health was an issue. While children didn't eat processed sugars, their diet of tough meat, fibrous plants, and often grit from grinding stones led to worn teeth and gum problems. Tooth loss from injury or wear was common, impacting their ability to chew and absorb nutrients. Prehistoric playpens, strategic safety, and constant carrying. So, if there were no playpens, how did they contain inquisitive toddlers? The answer lies in a combination of constant physical contact and strategic use of natural and constructed shelters. Human containment. Babies and very young children were almost constantly in physical contact with an adult or older child. They were carried in simple slings made of animal hide or woven plant fibers, strapped to backs or chests, allowing the parent to still use their hands for tasks like foraging or tool making. This wasn't just for comfort, it was the primary safety device. Shelter as sanctuary. Caves, when available, offered natural, robust protection from predators and the elements. Within the relative safety of a cave or a well-constructed hide hut, a toddler might have slightly more freedom to explore, but always within the line of sight of an adult. The area around the central fire, the heart of the camp, was also a natural focal point, and children would generally be kept within its immediate guarded perimeter. Teaching through danger. Instead of physical barriers, the primary method of containment was direct, immediate teaching of danger. Fire hot, cliff bad. These lessons were repeated constantly, reinforced by swift action and firm commands, instilling a deep, primal understanding of hazards from a very young age. A different kind of love. Prehistoric parenting was a relentless, exhausting, and often heartbreaking endeavor. It was a constant battle against the elements, against predators, against disease, and against the sheer dangerous curiosity of a tiny human. There were no manuals, no support groups, no easy answers. But within this struggle, there was also profound, unyielding love. A love expressed not through toys or lavish gifts, but through constant vigilance, shared warmth, painstaking teaching, and the fierce dedication to simply keeping a precious life safe for another day. It reminds us that while the external circumstances of parenting have changed dramatically, the core primal drive to protect, nurture, and guide the next generation remains timeless. We might complain about sleepless nights, but at least we're not worried about a pack of wolves outside the nursery. Thank you for joining Moveless History as we step into the incredibly challenging, yet ultimately triumphant, world of prehistoric family life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. We'll see you next time as we continue to unearth the hidden stories of humanity.